Hello and welcome to the Greg Ferron podcast. And today I have three awesome ladies joining me. We've got Renee Ekberg, Susan Niebergall, and good old Leanne joining us to tell you how to smash 2021 with your fitness and health goals. Ladies, welcome to the podcast again. It's been a while for all of you.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Awesome.
Yeah, thanks, Greg.
Cool. So look, everyone knows Leanne fairly well. But Renee and Susan, do you both, one of you want to just go with a very quick re-intro for anybody who's listening? So who wants to shoot first?
Renee, go ahead.
Sure. All right. Yeah. So I live in Wisconsin in the United States, and I am a strength training coach online, and Susan is my strength training coach. So that's how I got into everything that I'm doing right now. That's just a short background on me. There's not much else to it.
Awesome. And Susan?
I'm Susan Niebergall, owner of Susan Niebergall Fitness, and I'm co-coach in the Site Fitness Inner Circle. And yeah, I've been in the industry for about, 15 years now. Started off as an in-person trainer while I was a school counselor. Have the big history of yo-yo dieting. My book is coming out in actually a couple of weeks. I'm super excited because I go through all the deets of all the things. So anybody that's of our age, you will nod your head and go, oh yeah, I remember that stupid thing. Oh yeah, back there in 90s. Oh yeah, all that. I did all those mistakes. And my thing right now is just to empower women, just like Renee is, that it's never too late to make any changes. Because I think there's a false belief out there that once you hit a certain age, life's kind of over, right? Especially within the fitness ideal. And Renee's living proof of that too. She works as hard as anybody I've ever seen in my life. And we both are trying to get out the message that it's just never too late to change anything. And that's kind of my mantra. That's what I'm trying to get out there because it's the God's truth, I mean, I ain't no athlete. I get that a lot. You must be an athlete. No, I'm not. Not at all. So yeah, I think that's our purpose is to show people and empower people that you can do this too.
Awesome. This is
Absolutely. And like the whole athlete thing. I mean, so I was an athlete in high school and college, but oh my gosh, that was a long time ago, right? It feels like a lifetime ago. And things have changed so much. I mean, I'm a mom, I'm a grandma, I'm a wife. And like Susan said, yeah, I've tried everything as well. And just kind of got on in age and started to think I'm not moving as much. It's harder to lose weight. Why can't I do this on my own? And why is it, why do I just keep doing the same thing over again? That doesn't work and keep going back to it.
Awesome. So obviously everyone wants to get fit in 2021. It's January, the whole new year, new me thing is really, really out there. Ladies, what are the messages that you want people to hear to make 2021 a success? Who wants to go first?
Well, my big thing is to just start small. Don't get overwhelmed. Don't try, to change a whole bunch of things all at once, all in one day, or even in a week. I mean, just pick one or two things, start small, start moving more, make some short-term goals, such as even a week. I mean, if you can track what you're eating, just so you get an idea of what you're taking in so that you know where to start, right? So just those small things, you don't have to rush into anything. It's a long year. It's still January. So just start with one or two things. Drink some water, get your protein in, try to increase that, or keep track of, track for a week. How much protein are you taking in? Because I find that a lot of my clients, when they first start out and they do that, they're not getting near enough protein. Tiny amounts, probably a third of what they actually need. So that's a big one.
Awesome.
We talked about that yesterday, didn't we, Greg?
Yeah, me and Leanne did a live in our group as well, and we spoke about protein so much, and we really tried to hammer home that got to get your protein in, but ladies seem to be afraid of it. Isn't that right? Like,
ladies don't get near enough protein in their diet.
True. Yeah.
It does seem to be a manly thing, doesn't it, to eat all your meat up? Not to sound sexist, but like caveman. I think women.
I also think women in our generation don't get enough protein because our parents didn't do that. That's not how we were brought up, right?
That's true.
it was never emphasized at all. And I was talking to somebody on a consult yesterday about how our parents, like their breakfast looked like toast,
Yeah.
or a muffin, or, whatever. So we weren't brought up with that. So it's probably not super natural for people of our age bracket to get protein. So that's a skill. I mean, that's going to be a learned skill, and something that, doesn't happen overnight. And just like Renee said, my advice for 2021 would be, to definitely start small and pick a couple things to work on, and get rid of, and this is another big one for 2021 in my mind, is get rid of the word should be and only. Get rid of those out of your vocabulary, because those are what's keeping everyone back. I'm convinced of that. I'm only doing this. I should be doing this, whatever. Forget all that. Track your food, write it all down, and literally write it on a piece of paper. Don't type it into your phone or your computer, because we do that mindlessly every day, all day, every day. Write it on a piece of paper, old school, get off my lawn right here. That's what this is.
I love that though.
but there's research behind when you write it, you absorb it, you retain it. It is you will be more aware of it. And my son's a great example. He's 23 now, which is like really crazy, but he lost 70 pounds, and he lost 70 pounds by doing just that. He started writing down everything he put in his mouth during the course of a day without really changing anything, just normal, and started making changes just from that. And so, he was a college kid. So if a college kid can still drink and have fun and do whatever, it's about awareness, and that's what I know Renee and I both push that a lot. It is becoming aware of what you're doing, because we think we're doing one thing, but the reality is we're not.
Yes.
And until we have that come to Jesus with ourselves, right? It's gonna be, it's gonna be, we're gonna spin our wheels.
I think a lot of people are worried to actually admit where they're going wrong also, aren't they? So if you write it down, you're actually admitting, like, you can say you eat 3 meals a day and they're nice and clean, but if you don't actually write down everything that passes your lip, you don't really want to admit that you are eating bad. And I think that's a big issue, isn't it? People really need to face what it is that they want to do. It's a great point. It really,
it can be an accountability, just writing it down. Sometimes people will say, just writing it down again, oh my gosh, I'm eating something again, makes them aware, like Susan said, of just exactly what they're doing all day long. And just writing it down on a piece of paper, I think that's a great idea, because I am one to plug it in my phone, but I think if I would write it down, that would make me more aware. That's a great idea.
I think because one of the big things that I have with clients is I use something called Show Me. So people say, oh, but Greg, I'm not losing weight. And I'll say, show me.
Yeah.
And then you get the ums and the ahs and the.
Yeah. I love that. I love that. And in the inner circle, we have a lot of people right now who are posting pictures of everything they eat in a day for that very reason, to hold themselves accountable. That's how it kind of works in the group. And it's amazing how successful those people are when they do that. Because it is a level of accountability, right? Because you're not going to take that handful of whatever if you have to take a picture of it and put it on a group for thousands of people to see.
Exactly.
I might start posting my stuff in it in a circle now, actually, because I should. Yeah. Okay. Cool.
That would be great.
I will happily do that. Awesome. And then, so just talking about training, because I had a few questions as well that came up, and I'll jump into those in a bit. Mm-hmm. But from an exercise and training point of view, what should people be focusing on for 2021? What's your viewpoints, ladies? More cardio, more strength?
I think it depends whereabouts they are in their fitness anyway, doesn't it? Because you could be a complete beginner who's not done any form of exercise, or you could be a runner that wants to look into strength training. It's so individual, but I think when it comes to 2021, I think people just need to move more, because we all seem to be locked down, or if we might not be, but I don't know about you guys, but I feel like I've spent so much time in my house. I just think people need to get outside, get moving, get some fresh air, and that should just be the baseline for you to build on.
That's a great
whatever your goals are,
Yes, exactly. And what you enjoy, right?
Yes, definitely.
When for so many years, I was under the impression that I had to run in order to be in in shape or to lose weight. And that was so false because I hated running for one thing. So when I met Susan and she's like, you don't have to run, you can lift weights. And I was like, oh, I love to lift weights. This is awesome. Yeah. So it really needs to be something you enjoy as well. That's going to keep you going and be sustainable. Go for a walk if you like that, ride bike, go swimming, anything to get out and move. There's a lot of different activities out there to do.
Absolutely. It's got to be something that you enjoy. Absolutely. Because if you don't enjoy it, you won't do it. Right. I will say this, I'll put a caveat on that though. And I've been saying this a lot recently, that I do believe strength training is so important that you should do it to some degree, right? It doesn't have to be your 5-day, 4-day a week, massive gym workout, hour and a half, blah, blah, blah. But it has too many benefits for you not to do it at all, especially for us getting older. There's just keeping us strong, great for functional living, right? Building muscle mass, great for functional living. Bone density, great for us moving forward. There's just too many benefits. So I would always say to people, and I said this actually yesterday to this woman, do what it is you like to do. Like if it's Orange Theory, whatever it is, do that. But learn to incorporate strength to some degree somewhere in your life. Because that will do nothing but benefit you.
Love it. I think because that's a really big one. Often I'll see people say, I really want to get some nice arms because I'm looking at you ladies' arms and I'm like, I need to train my arms. And I'm like, well, sometimes you have to do the training that gets you the result. And I think people are scared to say that, to say, look, if you want to grow some muscle mass,
right,
you're going to have to lift heavy.
Yeah, don't be afraid of it. Don't be afraid to lift some heavy weights. A lot of women are afraid of that. And they think if they just do the diet part of it and they do some cardio, that they're going to have defined muscles. And that's not going to work. You have to lift some weights and you're not going to get bulky. You have to try really hard and lift a lot. And that should not be a worry if you're starting out.
I think that is, if you're new to weightlifting as a woman, I think that's a big misconception, isn't it? And I had it in the beginning. Someone said to me, oh, don't get too big. And I just turned around and I said, if I could get too big, I would already be there, because the work you need to do to get big is just so incredible. It's impossible for us women to get massive.
It is. And it's hard enough for guys to do it. I mean, most guys can't do it. Most guys can't do it. So, and women never eat enough to help with that anyway. So I'm not sure, if you think of it logically, obviously it doesn't make sense, even from a physiological perspective, right? It makes no sense because men and women were different, and men have an advantage in that way, but they struggle with it. So we're at a disadvantage out of the gate. And on top of it being hard anyway. And I think it's also just that myth that my generation, that's what we all thought, right? I mean, I think our kids' generation will be very different when they get to our age. They will know so much more, and there will be different things to learn then too, right? So we're a product of growing, of how we grew up and what society was and what the thing was back then. But even with all of that, it doesn't mean that you can't break through some of those mental barriers, right? It is, if you want to get some definition to you, arms, shoulder, whatever it is, you have to lift some heavy weight. You can't take the little pink dumbbells and do 50 reps. They don't work for that. I did jazzercise back in the day. I understand where this comes from. I do. So, but trust me, it didn't work then, and it's not working now.
Exactly. And touching on the food that you said, I think women are scared to eat the food required to recover from weight training, aren't they? I mean, I eat a lot of food and train hard, and I guess you ladies must eat to have that.
It's so funny because Renee and I are having this conversation with our current training program right now too, and I had this issue too. Tell them what we've been talking about. I think that would be really interesting.
Yes. So mentally, I went from a deficit into maintenance, and now I'm going back into a surplus, and it is such a mental game. So even though I want to eat more and I want to build muscle, I'm not always hungry, and there's a lot going on, and I want to eat the right foods, but it's not always easy. It's weird because it's easy at certain times of the year. It's easier at certain stages in your life. But right now, for me, I was telling Susan, I'm really struggling with that. It's hard for me to eat. And it's usually not the issue. And the thing is, I don't want to weigh more, and it's still in my head. And I know that, I mean, I'm fairly lean, and I'm going to build more muscle if I eat more, and it's all there, but it's still difficult. And that's okay. I'm working through that and still eating my oatmeal.
And, I think it's interesting because we grew up thinking when the scale goes up, it's bad. And when it goes down, it's good. And that was it. It was black or white. This is it. Right. And this is still in our head. So this is playing in Renee's head. It plays in my head. I was speaking the other day about how I had this random scale spike at one point. Every day the scale went up. And even I'm like, what am I doing? I haven't changed anything. And the emotion came right back to the surface, right? That familiar panic, when previously I would have let the panic take over, and then I would have reduced calories. I would have done all these drastic things, but now it's okay to feel this way, but it's not okay to let that dictate what you do next. That's where you have to draw the line. And that's what Renee and I work on. That's what I work on with Jordan, with my stuff. And it's tough. It is a mental game. And it's like, none of us want to see the scale go up. I mean, let's be honest. None of us like that, but that doesn't always mean that we have to panic and then starve ourselves or restrict. And it means trusting what we're doing, seeing something through. Big point, seeing something through, which Renee always does, by the way. And I just have to say, she's like the meticulous queen. She does everything. She's textbook, right? She's doing everything she's supposed to do. And it's hard. And she's a human being. We're all human beings. We all have these struggles. They're very common. But like I said, it's okay to feel this way. It's just that it's not okay to act on those and let that take over. And if she were to say to me, Susan, I really want to reduce my calories by 300, I'd say, no, you're not going to do that. She would never say that because she knows, right? But I wouldn't. I mean, it's that kind of thing.
Yeah. So are we saying that really that ladies need to not pay so much attention to the scale? Because I think that derails so many ladies, that if the scale goes up just a teeny bit, oh my God, what's wrong with me? What am I doing wrong? I've got to change my diet. I'm going to go on 800 calories and drink celery juice.
I think people, women in particular, they hold the number on the scales too high up in comparison to everything else, don't they? They kind of think, well, that's a be all and end all is that number that they're given, when really there's so many other things that you need to take into consideration. Like my scales might be up by a little bit, but my jeans might be a little bit looser, there's so many variables to everything. But I think people just hone in on the number on the scales and let that dictate everything else. And when really, I mean, obviously there's the purpose for scales and they do serve us. But I do think that they don't need to have, you don't need to weigh every single day. People get obsessed about it, don't they? When they could be monitoring it in other ways, like clothes, pictures, how you feel could be could serve you just as well. For everyday life, if you're feeling better, but the scales are a little bit heavier, then who cares what the scales say?
I think part of the issue stems from the lack of understanding what scale fluctuations are.
Yep.
And people don't understand. I didn't for years. That when you feel full, you go out and you have a meal or something like that, you feel full, you're full, you've got a full belly, right? You ate more than normal. That translates into our head as fat. Oh my God, I'm fat, right? Yeah. I feel fat. Right. It's not fat. You haven't gained fat from going out and having a meal. You have a lot of stomach content right now. That's why and so they don't understand things like, they don't understand that the scale can go up after you lift heavy. Because your muscles are holding onto glycogen, water, everything else. They don't understand that if you have to pee, you could pee out a pound. I mean, Lord knows when you have to get up at 3 a.m. to pee, you kind of do. Renee and I talked about this. That's the glory of being our age, right? Is that whole, oh God, get up and go, But yes. I truly believe that the scale's very important, but people rely on it way too much, and they rely on it too much because it's a little box. You stand on it, it gives you a number, boom. It's that simple. but they don't understand what the number is, that it's measuring bones, organs, water, da, 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 da. All they think of is it measures fat. That's it.
So true. That's so true. And it changes, like you said, with so many different, whatever's going on in your day. And you can weigh, like right now, I weigh about 10 pounds less than when I started with Susan almost 3 years ago, but I look nothing like I looked almost 3 years ago.
Nothing like she started. Yeah.
So you can, your weight will change, but like you said, Susan, that's just all relevant to what's going on in your life. And if you've gone through different phases of deficit and maintenance and surplus, and you've built muscle, and then you go back into a deficit and you lean out again. I mean, that scale number means nothing then. It's all about how you feel and how you look and how your clothes fit. So
yeah, 100%.
So what we're saying then is body composition, as we all know it, is probably a better indicator of progress, right?
Yeah.
I think this is what I truly believe. So many people say they want to lose weight, but I think what they really want is to lose fat.
Yeah.
And that's the body recomp, right? Because when you have a conversation with people and you ask them, well, what if you could change how you look, more definition, lean, whatever, and the scale didn't move at all? Maybe even the scale went up. Would you be okay with that? Oh yeah, I'd be okay with that. I think that's what people want, is body recomp, basically. And so I think for most people, if you have 20, 30, 40 pounds, whatever it is to lose, do your fat loss phase, get that going, and then head the other direction. And while you're losing fat, lift as heavy as you can. You can build some muscle while you're doing that. Do all of that. Get super, super strong while you're in a deficit. And then when you start adding calories back in, you can hone your training a little bit more and really get some more food in you, and then really start to build the muscle. And once you have the command of that, going back and forth like Renee does, you can do anything you want. I mean, life is yours. You can maintain, you could eat a little less and lose, you could eat a little more and put on some muscle.
Yeah.
And that's beautiful because it's putting the control back in your hands.
Yeah.
So you can decide at any given point, obviously within reason, that you can change how you want to feel and look, and maybe go for some PRs. But I think our general clients are like, I'm going to be in a deficit all of my life.
Yes.
Yeah.
All the way forever. And it doesn't quite work like that.
Right. I thought that for sure. I mean, before I met Susan and started working with her, I had no idea that you weren't supposed to live in a deficit. I've been living in a deficit for 30 years trying, and I really wasn't. And that's the thing. People think they're in a deficit, and they're really not, because you can't really consistently be in a deficit that entire time. But that's always seems to be the goal, right? It's like, well, I need to do that in order to lose weight or fat. I have to be in a deficit. And yeah, for a certain amount of time, but it's always good to give yourself a break too, and get out of that deficit, go into maintenance, give yourself physically a break, but also mentally. I think that's just so important as well.
Yeah. I think people, when they say, I've been in a deficit for a year. No, you haven't.
No.
You've been in deficit mindset for a year.
Yes.
That is different.
Yeah.
The deficit mindset versus actually being in a deficit. Two very different things. And it can feel like, oh my God, it's like the person who says, I'm eating 1,200 calories and I can't lose weight. Well, no, first of all, you're not eating 1,200 calories. All you were remembering is those 2 or 3 miserable days that you did eat 1,200 calories. That's what you remember. You don't remember the other 4 that you started reaching for this and you started going off track, and then all hell breaks loose and then you start again.
Yeah.
Your mind only remembers the painful part. And so in your head, you're thinking, I can't lose weight doing this. I mean, it's the same, with thinking that, or being in a deficit for a year, no, I mean, if you were in a deficit for a year, you'd weigh like nothing, right? I mean,
You'd be
legit.
miserable. You'd be
You'd be
miserable.
poorly.
Yeah.
I'd hate life. Like,
Yeah.
you're right. People do have what I call food amnesia. Because I've sat there and I've watched people, and I've watched clients, I don't eat that much. And they picked up a biscuit. And I'm like, do you remember those biscuits? And they have no idea.
Yeah. So, I truly believe people aren't lying. It's not that at all. It's not a purposeful deceit. It is, it's mindless, right? These things that we do, that we have to learn to catch ourselves. You know, we have this drawer where we have all the good stuff right upstairs in the kitchen.
Yep.
And even now, if I'm at the kitchen table, I can find myself standing up, walking towards that drawer, and I stop myself. I'm going, hold on, I'm bored. I'm not hungry. And I turn my butt around and go get some water or whatever. But I mean, it is so easy to do. It happens to so many people.
Such an easy trap.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to just switch lanes a second. And I had a question about bingo wings. So I don't know if you guys in the US have that same thing, but that it's the fat on the back of the arms. Yeah, that bit. So how do you get rid of those? Because it's such a big question that keeps coming up. So I'm gonna pass that to you, ladies. How do you get rid of fat on the back of the arms? Go on.
Go ahead, Renee. You first.
All right. Well, let's talk about your nutrition. So much of everything stems from what you're eating, and we've talked about just keeping track of that. You can't spot train. You can't, physically just do tricep overhead extensions and try to just firm up your triceps. That's not going to do it. You have to overall train your core. You have to do everything, but it does start in the kitchen, and there's a lot of nutritional things. Just eating, getting your protein in, and all the nutritional benefits of that will go along with it. And then overall, eventually your body's going to tone up or get defined or lose fat where you want it, not where you want it. When it does, it's got a mind of its own. It's going to do it in its own time and in its own places.
Yeah.
I'm sure it's a nutrition thing for most people. I think that's top of the list because it's fat. You want to get rid of fat. So it's got to happen from the kitchen. And I think though, training's going to play a huge role there. I think people underestimate how much your arms are used in just any exercise that you do. Right. And people are amazed. I never do like arm day. I've never had an arm day. I don't even know what that is. Right. I don't do that. And I don't have that many arm isolation exercises. I do this month for some godly reason. I don't know, but I don't normally. And I think people underestimate that when, like, if you're doing a dumbbell reverse lunge and you are bracing here, your shoulders are back, you're grabbing those dumbbells, guess what? This is all engaged.
Yep.
So I guess my point is appropriate training is going to help, right? And isolation exercises, sure, put them in, put some tricep stuff in there. Is that going to be the thing? Well, no, but I think you have to put it all together. And then the biggest thing with all of this is you got to keep after it, and you've got to push yourself in the gym. If you're using that little pink dumbbell that we talked about, you're hurting yourself. If those last 3 reps aren't feeling like death, you're not lifting heavy enough. And I mean, I hate to put it that way, but I really feel like that is a big issue with middle-aged women, is that they don't work hard enough. They don't work up to their potential.
Yeah.
They're stronger than they think, and they're afraid for a lot of reasons, generational reasons too, probably. Mm-hmm. But I really think that is a big issue too. Assuming nutrition is good and we got that under control, now we got to get into the gym, and now we got to really now push the envelope in the gym. Because if you don't do that, you're going to spin your wheels.
So intensity and focus of training is massively important, right?
And staying consistent as well. I think if you don't get the results you want within a week or two, and then you give up, and then you're back to square one, aren't you? So you really need to see it through. And obviously set yourself a time scale if you've got a plan or whatnot, but make sure you don't give up and fall back to old ways and then still sulk about your bingo wings. Because if you don't see it out for long enough, you're never going to get the results that you desire. So you've got to be into the long game.
And obviously, a lady with a higher body fat percentage is going to take a little bit longer to get there than someone who's starts off at a lower body fat percentage.
And I guess I just want to throw one thing out here too, because I get this a lot. And Renee, I don't know if you guys, Greg, I don't know if you, Leanne, I don't know if any of you get this, but I really get a lot of the times people seem to think that they assume that when they're in a deficit, they don't train as hard. They shouldn't train as hard. There's some misconception there. And I just flip it and I say, when you're in a deficit, you should be training as hard as you can.
Yep.
as hard as you can, because you can build massive amounts of strength in a deficit. Absolutely. Yes, yes, yes. You can even build some muscle in a deficit, especially if you're newer to the game, you have a lot of weight to lose and you're just getting yourself started. You're going to be building some muscle. So you need to push it and not do the opposite. And I don't know where that came from. If that's a gem, I don't know. But it just kind of threw me for a loop. I'm like, why wouldn't you train hard in a deficit? And sometimes they'll come back and they'll say, well, I don't have enough energy. Well, then your deficit's too big. Like if your deficit is so big that you can't get to your workout and do a decent job at your workout, you need to look at that.
And I think that's where ladies tend to go with this really big deficit. It was interesting. I had a client yesterday and I was resetting her nutrition goals. And she said, that many calories? I mean, you're going to train hard this month. But she wasn't ready to go over, she's on 1,800 calories. And oh my God, I can't do that.
It sounds like a lot.
But it's not.
It's not.
It's not.
Because if you're not losing weight now, guess what? You're eating a whole lot more than that.
Yes.
Yeah. That is so true. That is so true. It's like, I think people don't understand nutritional density of foods and stuff like that. I think that's the real issue.
It's education. It is. And that's why tracking and weighing food and viewing what, 4 ounces of this looks like versus 6. I mean, that's what the education is. That's why I know in the inner circle, we preach this, and I preach this too on my own. It's just getting that period of tracking and weighing and measuring is invaluable for this very reason, right? Because we all suck at estimating, all of us.
Yes.
And it's to really kind of check ourselves and be that spot checker for ourselves. It's great to learn how to weigh and measure your food and track it. And that doesn't mean you have to do it forever. And I think that's a big myth too, right? I haven't tracked in God knows, I don't know, 3 years. I don't know. Because I don't need to anymore. I know what I need to do. I am maintaining. I'll eat a little less if I want to lean out a little bit, or I'll eat a little bit more if I want to put on some muscle. That's the power of the education.
But a lot of ladies don't want to track. They're like, I want to I want to lose weight, but I don't want to track. Now there are ways around it, and we have some clever ways to do that. But I think you're so right that just tracking it, even for a week. I know, Susan, you're very much like, do 30 days of it. Yeah.
Just a short period of time of something, and just do that and learn, because my guess is if you do that for 5 days or whatever, you will get some big aha out of that 5 days. A couple of them, probably. You will have guessed that piece of chicken was 4 ounces, and guess what? It's 7, or something like that. And that can make a big difference in a bigger picture, whatever. But I think just doing it for a little bit, of course you can lose weight without tracking. Is it the best way to do it if you've never tracked before, like people that jump right to intuitive eating, that whole thing? No, because intuitive eating is an advanced skill. And if you don't have the background before you do that, you're going to get frustrated and spin your wheels, because you're going to eat healthy and think you're doing the great thing. And hello, I'm raising my hand. I did this for about 30 years and think, why am I not losing weight?
Oh yeah, I get that a lot. I want to eat intuitively, and I'm like, intuitive eating as you do it now isn't working for you.
Yeah.
So we need to look at lifestyle, habits, mindset, the backstory, as you mentioned. I think that's really, really key before we can get there. That takes the time. That takes a while. Because even times I go, let me just track that just to see where I'm at. And I'm like, oh, okay. Pull it back, Rick. Pull it back.
Exactly. And if you've tracked for a while, and like Susan said, you don't have to do it every day, but if you take a week, one day, just to get back at it and do it once in a while, like you said, Greg. Because I know when I started, I got overly obsessed with tracking, and I had to go the other way, because that can happen as well. You start tracking, and I do have some clients who are there, that fear is there. Well, if I start tracking, then I'm going to get obsessed, and then I'm going to measure my lettuce and my carrots, and everything I eat is going on the scale. And there's a difference there, and you want to try to get, let's not go over to the other end of the spectrum as well. So yeah, there's a good happy medium, but it's so important to start out and get that awareness so you know where you're at. And then once you know what a serving of Greek yogurt is like, you can do that. You don't have to put that on the scale, because a couple extra tablespoons of Greek yogurt is not going to kill you. So
Absolutely.
And at this time of year as well, there's lots of the fad diets around. How do we get people to kind of stay away and understand how that works? So go on, Susan, go on.
No, I'm sorry. Go ahead and finish.
Well, I was just going to say, you'll hear a lot about things like keto. Oh, I can't lose weight on a standard calorie deficit. I have to go keto and drop all my carbs. So that sort of thing. How can people see what's really going on in all of these diets?
I like to tell people to ask themselves this question. Can you see yourself eating like this for the rest of your life? And if the answer is no, then why are you doing this? Because ketos could be a very great example for this, and bring on the keto hate, I guess. I just find that it's so unsustainable for almost everybody, right? And yes, you can lose weight right at the beginning because you're cutting out an entire group of foods, right? So you're cutting out a huge amount of calories. That's why keto works. But the people that say, I keep going back to keto because it works for me, well, if you think about it, that makes no sense. Why are you going back to something that always works for you? Why did you ever leave if it works so well?
right.
If something works for you, you don't ever leave it because it works. And why would you try to fix something that ain't broken, right? So I tell everybody, you need to do the insert your name diet. I do the Susan diet. Renee does the Renee diet. That's the name of the diet I do. And that is finding what works for me. And that is understanding the basics of weight management, that you eat less than your body needs, you will lose weight. That little concept applied to the foods I like and the amount of foods that work for me and my weight and my numbers and my goals. That's the diet that I think everyone should do for them. Insert your name, and that's the diet.
Awesome. That's just,
yes.
Go on, Renee.
Yeah, I was just going to say the same thing that Susan said, that if it worked for you, why do you continue to go back to it? It should have been sustainable. If it works for you, it would be sustainable. So my big thing is everything in moderation. I don't like my clients to cut out certain foods out of their food groups at all, including treats. Treats are a big part of enjoyment in food. So I think that's so important to learn that everything in moderation, and watching your food, your portion sizes, and just getting everything in and enjoying it and not having too much of certain things is key.
I think the issue is, though, we've got so much social media where you've got experts, and I say experts in inverted commas, who say, I lost weight because I dropped, I don't know, mashed bananas from my nutrition, and all of a sudden I lost all this weight. This is what you should do. Is that what's going on a lot?
I think so. I think a lot of people look up to these people and get scared now. Poor bananas, right? Because bananas have really bear the. They really have. And I was one of those people. I stayed away from bananas for years because I thought they had too much sugar, and that was going to cause all kinds of god awful problems. I think it's when you can have a conversation with people and try to walk them through logically some things, none of that makes sense, right? And they start to understand, but it does require some back and forth and manipulating a conversation to a degree, so they can kind of see that it's not the bananas. It's a calorie thing. And then you get, well, the calorie in a banana is the same as a calorie in a donut. No, it's not. Or, a calorie is the same as whatever two you want to compare. And they're thinking nutrients. They're not thinking measurements. And, you go down this whole, that's where people get stuck. I truly believe that is a huge problem. They confuse the word calorie with the nutrients of the food. And those are two very different discussions.
Yeah, and I think, calorie is a calorie, as in a meter is a meter, a mile.
Or we say an inch is an inch.
An inch is an inch. Exactly. Yeah. So I guess a really big thing that I talk to ladies about is finding your big why. So ladies, just share with me, what was the big aha moment for you that made you change what you were doing?
Go ahead, Renee.
Well, my aha moment was the first time I spoke with Susan. I had never really considered online coaching before, because I did not understand how it worked. But Susan and I hopped on the phone, and one of the first things she told me was her husband was gone grabbing donuts for that. It was a Saturday morning, and I was like, "You eat donuts?" Really? That's okay. And she also told me that day, if you don't like cardio, you don't have to do cardio. Let's work on what you like. Let's not go extreme here. Let's do moderation. And that was really, that day was like, wow, I mean, I think I could try this. I think this could work. And that really, I've had a lot of aha moments with Susan, actually. We're football fans, Susan included, my husband included. I mean, both our families are, but
is that football or soccer? Because there's a
okay, well,
yeah.
American football.
Yeah. That kind of football. But we used to, well, this year we haven't because of COVID, but we used to tailgate a lot, and we used to go up to the Green Bay Packer games. And there's a lot of tailgating involved, and a lot of drinking, and a lot of just everything. And I didn't think I could live without partaking in an overabundance of all of that.
Yeah.
And I learned through the help of Susan that I really could. I mean, that you can still do the things you love and still have fun and enjoy it, but you don't have to do all of it. You don't have to eat all the cheese curds, but you can still have them. And when I realized that, that was really, boy, wow, I can do this. Yeah. When you find that, you know it.
That was I remember the tailgate thing when we first started talking about, because that was massive for you. That was such a big part of your life.
Yeah.
And that you were so genuinely worried about it being miserable there. And not being able to enjoy. And I think we worked through bright lines with that, right? Just to test drive them there.
Yes, we did. Yeah, I would text Susan literally on the way to the game and say, okay, I'm gonna have 2 beers and some cheese curds, and that's it. I mean, I'm good. As long as I can have that, I'm happy. And I was, and I did. And once I did that, I was like, okay, I had a lot of fun, and it was fine. And it was all good. And then after that, I can do even more, and the momentum just builds after that. Once you find that you can do it, you know, make a small goal and set a bright line, get an accountability partner, ask them if you can text them and, you know, say, this is what I'm going to do today. This is where I'm going to draw the line, and ask me tomorrow, get back to me, see how I did. And yeah, when you can do that, that's made a huge difference for me.
So Renee, was you already on a fitness journey and then you reached out to Susan, or was that your first step into becoming fitter?
I was on a fitness journey for a long time, and I could never figure out why I couldn't look the way I wanted to look. I felt like I ate decent, but I was just eating too much. And I was exercising. I was doing a lot of videos. I was doing every crazy diet and any exercise video I could get my hands on. But I just didn't have the right combination, and I didn't have any accountability, and I didn't know what I didn't know. I just didn't know that I was eating too much, and I didn't have anyone to hold me accountable. I would go overboard and be so restrictive. Like Susan said, I was restrictive for like 2 days, and then the other, 5 days of the week I was munching or nibbling on other things. So yeah.
Awesome. And then Susan, I obviously know a little bit of your story, but what was your big aha moment?
I want to say I have 2, one kind of nutritionally related, one training related. And the nutrition one came when I looked at myself in the mirror one day and looked at my belly and like, what the hell has happened to me? Like I just burst into tears. Just random day. There was nothing weird about that day. I decided then that I was going to make a doctor's appointment, and because I started convincing myself at that point that it was menopause. I'm like, oh yeah, menopause. That's the reason I can't lose this weight. Oh, this makes so much sense now. I was like relieved. And so I made the doctor's appointment, and she did a whole panel. She listened to me talk, and I burst into tears actually in the doctor's office, and she was so kind. Because she could tell this was something that I was ashamed of too, because I was a fit pro too. I was ashamed of it. I was frustrated. I didn't understand. And I knew it had to be this. I knew it. And she humored me and gave me the blood panel. I'm sure she knew that wasn't it. And of course my blood work came back fine. And when that was such a big aha moment when it came back, because now I had no excuse. Like in the back of my mind, I had thought about menopause, but it just kind of came to the surface. And then I was using that for however long. And so she just basically said, Susan, you're just eating too much. That's it. And I should have looked at that as a great moment, right? This is the best news I could have had. Instead, I looked at it, I was devastated. Like I expected to get my medication, go downstairs to the pharmacy, get it, start it, boom, within 5 days, I'm belly gone. I mean, all the stupid stuff I would thought. So I didn't look at it as the best news, because the best news is I'm in control. That is the best news anybody can ever get, is that I control it. It took me some time to realize that. And once I did, I started to make changes. And then when I started working with Jordan shortly after that. And the big training aha came when he took me from when I was working out from like 6+ days a week hard to 4. And the first rest day, I'm texting him going, what the hell? What do I do? And he's like, we talk about this, and I know he was rolling his eyes at me. He goes, oh, I got another one. I'm one of these.
Exercise junkie.
Yeah, right. But he just, I whined. And so he said, okay, go, you can go hop on a bike or something, but don't let your heart rate get over I don't even remember the number. It was ridiculously low, right? Like don't just breathe. Okay, that's it. You can't let you. And so I went up to the gym. I'm like, okay, I can do something. And I went up there. I couldn't do it. Like I could not. I'm a rule follower, and he gave me numbers, and I am a rule follower. And I stood by and I'm like, I can't do this. I can't do this. And I left. And I wrote to him and I said, I will never ever do that again. A rest day is a complete rest day for me. And what I learned from that is it was hard coming from 6 days to 4, but I just posted about rest days just today on Instagram, and how important they are and how important they became for me, and how much better I became because I allowed my body to rest and recover, and my workouts were more effective. I made a ton more progress in a short period of time just from taking rest days. And so lesson learned there. 2 big lessons about accountability, self-accountability, finally, for nutrition, which was 30 years in the making, and then training accountability, allowing my poor body to rest, for God's sakes. I was beating myself up and never making any progress, which is the irony, right? Is that you keep doing that thing that's not working for you, but you keep doing it because you're doing it out of fear. You're doing it because I was afraid not to, because my God, what happens if I don't? Oh my God, I'm going to get fat. Oh my God, I'm not going to make any progress. And it's like, well, Susan, you're not making any progress. I mean, it's all the illogical stuff.
Yeah. It's crazy, isn't it? Like Leanne trains 3 times a week?
Yeah, 3 times a week I aim for. And sometimes it can just be 2, especially now at the moment. And I've only recently learned to be okay with that. And I used to be the same as you, Susan. I used to be in the gym. I mean, I would weight train 5 times a week, and then the other 2 I'd go there just to do some cardio, and it was almost like I'd get withdrawal symptoms from not having the gym. And my husband trains as well, and he was doing the same, so we was passing shifts. And then it's not till you take a step back you realize how much that impacts like family life and all that other stuff. But and I've got the best results now than what I have done when I was at the gym 7 times a week. But I do think it's something that we have to learn. I think when you're first in the gym and you get that first adrenaline rush of, oh my God, this, like, you feel so good, don't you? Like, you're training, you're getting stronger, and you're almost chasing that feeling all the time. So you want to be in the gym every day.
And your point is chasing the feeling. That's a big issue. I mean, that's what a lot of people, they want to chase, like, even if it's being sweaty or whatever, they want to chase that kind of feeling instead of working towards a result, increasing your lift or whatever it is. And I think it comes from the thing that so many people think is more is better, right? I mean, it can sound logical, but more is not better. Better is better. Making what you're doing more effective is how you're going to get the results.
Yeah. And recovery, like you said, recovery is so important. You can't have one without the other. But as Greg says, the recovery side isn't sexy. It's all the
Yeah.
moves we see on Instagram and
Yeah.
people in their cute outfits, like doing moves in the gym. You don't see them at home watching TV recovering, because
Right.
that's not the fun bit.
I think people need to understand too. And I had a discussion with somebody about my post today about the difference between working out and movement every day. And there's a big difference. People
Yeah.
say, well, wait a minute. I thought I should be able to do yoga. No, that's great. Rest day doesn't mean sit your ass on a chair and not do anything.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, it could, but
Mhm.
that's not what it has to mean.
Yeah.
You could go for a walk. You could do yoga. You know, get on I have a bike here now. I could get on the bike and pedal just for a little bit, whatever it is. But adding another HIIT workout is not a rest day.
No, exactly.
You know?
Yeah.
I mean, you have to understand the difference.
Yeah, I like to call it working out and working in.
Yeah. Yeah. I like that.
So you've got, you know, maybe do some, like you said, yoga, Tai Chi, go for
Yeah.
a walk, do some gardening, but you don't have to, like you say, smash yourself with HIIT all the time.
It's just not an added stress, something that's calm, but will still benefit you.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
No, your nervous system's taking a hit, right? I mean, and that's between muscle fatigue and your nervous system, you know, give yourself a break.
But people like to chase the burn or the, you know, I get messages from clients going, Greg, I'm not hurting today. I'm like, that's good. That's okay. They get disappointed when they're not in pain, they can't walk or can't go to the loo, especially for you ladies. I do feel for you. So I think ladies need to get out of that mindset of, you know, training saying beast mode, no pain, no gain. It needs to just go. What are your thoughts, ladies?
I agree. Yeah, I mean, I train 4 days a week, and sometimes I'm sore afterwards and sometimes I'm not. And that is not according to how hard I train. You know, it's just different muscles that I've hit that maybe I haven't used in a while or whatever. But yeah, definitely don't need to be sore or doing, you know, a ton of cardio every day or a HIIT session. If you've got a rest day, I love to go for a walk on my rest days. In the summer, I go for a swim. In the winter, we go sledding. So, I mean, there's just a million different things you can do to actively.
I agree 100%. I just think people go back to the more is better. They're chasing the, if my tongue's not on the floor at the end of a workout, it wasn't a good workout, you know, or whatever, something like that. And it's not a more is better. And a typical strength training workout, you should not leave the gym with your tongue on the floor. I mean, if you're leaving the gym with a typical strength training workout with your tongue, something's amiss. It shouldn't be like that. I mean, and of course there are exceptions. Like my program, here's a great example. My program this month, I've got bike finishers, bike sprints on my program. It's like, oh, they're the worst. And I'm doing them on the Concept 2 bike, which is that air bike. And it's like, so this is a whole new thing for me. And so my tongue is on the floor after that. But if I were to cut my workout off before that, nah, my tongue's not on the floor. I have gas left in the tank. So, you know, and I think that's a really good indicator for people maybe that might be newer to strength training. Don't feel like you have to be completely exhausted when you leave or when you're finished or whatever. It's different than when you do sprints. It's different when you do HIIT. They're different. They're apples and oranges. They're very different workouts and you're going to feel different doing them.
Yeah, I think HIIT gets overused as this magical fat burning tool. I can't stand it because I find a lot of the ladies I work with can't recover. They can't move with enough quality. Start doing burpees.
And that's a worry as well, isn't it? So the beginning of a year and everyone's got New Year's resolutions and they might not be in the condition that you need to be in to do an effective HIIT workout. And that's when you could line yourself up for injuries. You know, you haven't moved your body properly for say 5-10 years. And then all of a sudden you're going to start doing a jump squat. I mean, it's just not going to benefit you in any way, is it?
Yeah, no. It hit. I think Greg, you hit it. It gets overused and overplayed as some miracle, as some, you know, should I add an extra day of HIIT? No, don't. As a matter of fact, no.
I think because HIIT can be done in a smaller amount of time, I think it comes
Yes.
down to people wanting to get a great result with not a lot of effort. So they can do
Yes.
the workout in, I don't know how long HIIT is, you've got 20 minutes, 30 minutes, but then they're sold the image that they're going to get the body that they want, so they can do it in a smaller amount of time. And then they really need to address whether they're in it for the long haul or whether they just want a quick fix.
And I think addressing time is a different thing, right? If you don't have time for a strength training workout or whatever, then yeah, a short little circuit. Sure, of course, use that instead, not in addition to, which is kind of where I think people make the mistake. It's so interesting. And if you all have been on calls with people, I'm sure you've heard this. When the conversation starts and they tell you that they're struggling to lose weight, and the first thing out of their mouths is, okay, so I work out 4 days a week. I'm adding 2 days of HIIT. I go jogging this day, and I'm all these things. And they have yet to even talk about the thing that's driving their struggles right now, which is their nutrition, right? They don't even mention that. They mention all these little odds and ends. HIIT always is involved with that. It's always involved. And they talk about all these workouts because they're from that more is better camp. And sometimes I think intensity like that. And if you do a true HIIT workout, the intensity of that is outrageous. Absolutely outrageous.
The example I give to people is when Usain Bolt runs 100 meters, he is running at the maximum potential of a human being. That is high intensity. Mm-hmm. He doesn't then take 10 seconds and starts doing burpees.
Yeah.
It just doesn't happen. It just doesn't happen.
Great example. Yeah.
Yeah. Feel free to use that one. So
I love it.
Yeah, I think yeah, we should share these tips. I think more of my coaches should share these tips. So for the listeners that are in England and the UK, we're currently in lockdown. You cannot go anywhere. And I know parts of the United States are similar. So what advice would you give to people who are trying to work out from home and continue training in this kind of environment they've got? So they can't get the squat rack. They can't get the stuff they need. How can they overcome that in training?
You have to adapt, really, don't you? And I think, and I've done this as well personally, especially in the last lockdown, is I love going to the gym. That's my place where I go, where my children aren't allowed. My husband has the children, so I am by myself. I have the massive headphones so no one talks to me. And then that got taken away. So almost having a tantrum about it, I didn't work out because they're taking the gym away. So how am I going to train? So I think learning to adapt to the situation and finding a workout that you like doing at home. So like body weight is so, like, you can do so much with body weight or resistance. I mean, pick up a child if you have one and squat, There's always something you can use, but you just need to be able to adapt and not, like I did, rely on the gyms being open to keep your fitness, because we don't know, we could be in lockdown for God knows how long. Like, you can't just not train. So you just need to be able to adapt.
Yeah, that's so true. And like you said, Leanne, if you're using body weight workouts, you can add to those. You can use constant tension. You can do a 1.5 rep. You can add a pause in there. I mean, there's a lot of things you can do with body weight for sure.
Yeah, I think people underestimate what they could actually do at home because they don't know, right? They don't know about all those things, like Renee was saying, constant tension, half reps, pauses, things like that, which will just up the difficulty of just about anything that you can do. And I think people also don't realize that every one of us we all have weight in our house. It just doesn't always look like a dumbbell. And I think we have to think out of the box in circumstances like this, right? So a couple wine bottles could be great for some delt stuff, laundry detergent jugs, or heck, get a box and fill it with books and start deadlifting that. Those are heavy. Put a backpack on, fill it with books or rocks or whatever, and wear that while you're doing your lunges. There are ways to progress even with weight when you don't have traditional looking weight in your house, right? And I think that's a big lesson we've all learned this past year. We've had to learn. And I think I don't know where I am, and Renee, I'm not sure what you guys are doing in Wisconsin, but I know my area, we're open. I go to my gym. I didn't go today because I have a lot going on. I worked out from home. I have a gym here so I can work out, but we don't have to wear masks either when we work out. We wear them on the way in, we wear them on the way out. If we're roaming around, we have to wear them, but not when I'm actually deadlifting or pushing weight or whatever. So really fortunate, but I know it's different everywhere. And the thing is, I guess it goes back to focusing on what you can control versus what you can't. And I think that happens when you get injured. You know, we all start worrying about what we can't do instead of, right? And it's natural though. I mean, and we can let ourselves get caught up in that. And then we become, inactive, depressed. What the hell? I'm not going to do it anymore, whatever. And so everyone hates lockdown. I mean, I think we all can agree with that. It sucks. It's terrible. We understand why it's happening. But okay, so now we can move on from that. And now let's focus on, okay, this is my reality. How am I going to dig in and keep my nutrition on check, which by the way, you still have complete control over, which is the best, right? And then how can I progress with training? And the biggest thing that people do wrong, I think, is they try to recreate a gym at home when they don't have the gym at home. You know, you can't recreate a bar and plates if you don't have a bar and plates per se. You can't do it. So start thinking creatively and how, okay, I don't have a bar and plates, but I do have a box and I do have books I could put in that box. And okay, it might not be as heavy as I would lift with a bar and plates, but I could add a pause to that. Mm-hmm. I could slow down the eccentric. Yep. I could add a few more weights, reps. You know, I mean, you could do all kinds of things like that. Is it the same as a gym? No, it's just not. We need to get over that and then work on what we have.
And you raise some points there. Go on, Liam.
It's a really good time as well to focus on form as well, because I see sometimes people, you can be so busy worrying about the weight you're lifting, but actually, are you lifting it properly? And could you tweak something here and there? I mean, you do a body weight squat and you do it slowly, you're going to know that that's going to hurt, and you're going to make sure it's hurting in all the right places. And I think, and slowly as well, because in the gym, like you said, with the tempo in the gym, people, they've got 10 reps, so they're just going to smash out the reps. You do 10 reps at half the speed, you're going to feel the same burn. And moving your body as well. If you can work out, focus more on stretching, feel where you're tight or some muscles that need foam rolling. You know, there's so much stuff that you can do that could aid your training as and when you've got the weight that you can lift again. And all these things will benefit you.
Although I think Leanne hated programmed her Bulgarian split squats with tempo in it.
It was horrible.
That's the best ever.
I hate Bulgarian split squats so bad.
The Bulgarian split squat family is quite small. There's only a handful of us in this family.
But they do the job.
I think I consider myself the matriarch, just from age perspective, right, of the BGSS family.
I like it. I'm part of that family. I love them. So I think there's one other part of the equation that people can control as well: sleep, because it always gets shoved to the side. I'm going to watch another episode on Netflix.
Oh, so yeah.
How can people start to control their sleep? And because that impacts appetite and mood and how you train. So what can people do around sleep?
Oh, this is one area where I struggle because kind of I'm at that age where I don't sleep real well. I mean, I can fall asleep, but I'm awake, 3-4 hours later, and then probably every hour after that. So some things I've been trying is to just calm down at night, because I can go. I'll go up until it's 10:30 at night, and I should be at 8 p.m. sitting down, putting things away, and just sitting. And my husband would appreciate that, I think. But just trying to get in a routine of that. And that's one thing I'm working on now this year, and hopefully that will help. But I think, turning off the screen and just kind of having some downtime at night before bedtime is going to help, I believe.
I've been doing the same thing. That this is a goal for mine for this year, but the pandemic really actually helped my sleep tremendously. And I stopped feeling like I had to wake up at an ungodly early hour. Yeah. So I've that nonsense is gone. And it's not like I sleep till, I'm still up at 7, right? I naturally am waking up at 7. But one thing that I've been doing that has really helped me, it's similar to what Renee was just talking about, is after dinner, I'm done. I'm done work. Like anything that requires my brain to really hunker down and have thought process with or whatever, I don't do. I will spend some time after dinner doing an activity like cleaning out my iCloud or something that requires no brain function really, just easy stuff, something. And I am getting in, I'm a nighttime shower person. So I'll be in the shower by 8 p.m. And after that, I sit, I'm in dress for bed, and I'll watch TV for a little bit, and I wind down just a little bit. That starts at 8. I used to be 11. That would start at 11. And I'll tell you this, I have also started adding an extra magnesium supplement, and I'm trying, I want to do a little experiment because I don't know if it's more placebo for me, but I do see a correlation of quality of sleep for me, taking that every single night. Have no basis for this, and I'm going to put that out there. It is purely just subjective, whatever. But I really want to go for a period without it and see if I can really determine anything. I've read a lot about magnesium being helpful, and I don't know if my magnesium intake was enough prior. So trying that just to see. But yeah, it's just this age that Renee and I are in. We have the luck of getting up a couple times, and the days where I either only wake up once or I don't wake up at all are days that I wake up feeling like a completely different person, which hammers home the importance of sleep. I mean, just hammers it home. I never realized on how little sleep I functioned on before. I just can't even imagine working full time at that school and going on such little sleep like I did, then going to a training gig after school, then doing my own training after that on virtually no sleep. I mean, it's insane. So yeah, it is a game changer, and it's really difficult, I think, for all of us.
I think sometimes maybe though you need to make a choice between feeling crappy or watching that extra episode of whatever on Netflix. I think
The Crown.
Okay. I've never watched it. What's everyone watching at the minute? Bridgerton or something, or some? It's like Downton Abbey upgraded kind of thing.
Oh! I need to watch that then.
Okay, I'll send you a link to it. I'll send you a link. But yeah, I think people need to choose, and I found people make excuses to stay up later. Well, I have to do this, and I have to do this.
Yeah.
But we are we're the architects of our own time, right?
Yeah, we are. It's a priority thing.
Yes.
I 10:30 is when I try to, that's it. I could stay up longer and watch or whatever, but I know I'll pay for it the next day, and I still have issues with my mind doing this, just going and going and going, and I feel it. And literally I talked to myself. I just say, Susan, you're fine. Calm down. You don't have to do that right now. It's okay. You were fine. This happened 2 nights ago, so it's not like it was this happened 2 nights ago. And sometimes I will keep something by my bed where I can actually write something down to get it out of my head.
Yeah.
And sometimes, I'll do that in my phone too. That's why I'm one of those people that has my phone there for that reason. I have to get it out of here, out of my brain. So then I can just go, okay, because I'm afraid I will forget it. That's my problem. And that's, Renee, this is our age, right? I mean, we forget things. Brain fog is a real thing. And I am desperately afraid of forgetting something important. What's that?
What's my excuse?
Yeah.
I was going to say, I forget stuff all the time.
It is one of those things, and I think I magnify it probably for myself more than it is maybe real, but it's just one of those things. I don't want to be that person that forgets an appointment or forgets something. So I make sure if something, oh God, did I return that email? Return email. I just get, and then I can. And it's a work in progress, right? I think we all are with this. We have to find the rhythm, the whatever that works for each one of us.
Awesome. And I think I'm going to try and wrap this up now because I know we could go for hours and hours. It's going to be like the longest podcast ever. But the one thing you both said earlier up front was about accountability, because we've got, Susan who coaches Renee. Renee coaches people. Susan has a coach. Leanne has a coach. I have a coach. People need some of that accountability in their lives, right?
And there's a process though, isn't there? Because you have to decide that you want to change, and then you need to admit to somebody else that you need their help for the change. Because I think a lot of people want to change, but they think that they can do it all by themselves. And unless you're educated in the field that it is that you want to change, how are you going to make those changes in your life? So you need someone who's got the education that takes the stress away from you thinking you need to know it all, and also someone that you can that holds you accountable, and then you can go to as and when you feel like you might fail or you need to make changes.
I think infobesity is what I call it. Infobesity, that kind of collecting information all the time, is probably one of the big things that holds people back. You know, they've got 50 million Facebook groups that they're in. They stalk 20 million Instagram fitness models to soak up all this information, but then don't take action. And I think that's where deciding to have a coach just gets you to do the stuff you need to do, right?
Yeah,
100% it does. And I also think there are some people that think that by hiring a coach, all their problems are solved, you know, and that there's no self accountability whatsoever. And I have this discussion, you know, I spend most of my time on the phone now with people, and the conversation, this is me, my little tough love piece to them, but they, many of them say something to the effect of, well, you know, if I do this, I know I'm just going to go off the rails, you know, I'm just going to go off the rails and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, okay, so no, that's bullshit. First of all, you are listening to your own crap. You have just now justified you going off the rails. You know, oh, this is just how I am. No, that's how you're choosing to be. And until you hold yourself accountable, keep a promise to yourself, there's not a coach anywhere that's going to be able to help you, you know, or any program or anything, right? It has to start there. Now, coaches definitely can hold you accountable. And some people need a lot of accountability. Some people don't need much accountability, especially as they progress. Like Renee's a great example of that. But there are people that, you know, I hate to use the word hand holding, and they think the coach is going to be there every minute of every day. And it's like, no, it doesn't work that way. You have to be ready and there has to be some level of independence on your end as a client, whether you're with a coach or in a group, it doesn't matter. If there is not, and you're solely relying on somebody to motivate you and to get you going, you're going to be spinning your wheels yet again. It can be overwhelming, but that's where communication comes in with your coach and talking about what's overwhelming. And, you know, Jordan always says this, and it's better to teach somebody to fish than give them the fish, you know, and people don't want, I didn't say that right, but you know what I mean, right?
I mean, yeah.
It's that saying, I don't know what it is, but
fish.
You know, you don't want to spoon feed them you want them to go through the work process, because that's how they're going to retain and learn. I mean, that's just basic education.
Amen.
I definitely fell in the trap of thinking, when I hired Susan, that was in my mind was a last resort. I thought that I had tried everything that there was known to try, and hiring someone to help me get there was in my mind a last resort. If I couldn't do it myself, then I must be a failure. So I guess I'll have to have someone help me. And that's not true at all. And then once I did start working with Susan, I had it in my head, okay, well, now I've hired her and this is magically going to change my life. And that doesn't happen either. So you still have to put in the hard work. And I didn't. And it took me a while. It took me, probably 6 weeks. And Susan called me out on it and said, hey, let's hop on the phone. And I knew immediately, because I wasn't holding up my end of the bargain. I was like, I had every excuse in the book. Oh my I very clearly remember that conversation. I was coming up with stuff and she was saying, hey, the scale's going up. What's going on? Well, it's summer. I don't know. Let me think of something else. But the point was, she said, you have to put in the hard work. You have to draw that line and I'll help you get there. But you're the one who has to put in the work. And when I realized that and started to put in the work, that's when things started to happen. So always there for support, but not holding my hand. And that's what I try to carry on with my clients now. I don't want to hold their hand through this whole process, but I definitely, wherever they need help, I'm there to help them.
That sounds perfect.
Yep.
Cool. Right, ladies, I'm gonna definitely wrap this up now because I know what will happen. I'll ask another question. We'll go on another tangent. 2 hours, and I need to eat. I'm so hungry.
Gotta eat too.
I've cooked
Yeah,
some
me
chicken
too.
and I'm really hungry. So all I'm going to ask now is, ladies, is what's the biggest thing, the one thing you would tell someone who's just starting to get in shape? What's the one thing you tell them?
Don't try and do everything at once.
Awesome.
I would say don't give up. If you screw up one day, that's totally fine. Get back on track. You don't give up.
And I would just say, I mean, it's similar. Consistency with anything will win out 100% of the time. That is the one guarantee that will work for you if you're consistent. That's it.
And I guess mine is do the work.
Yeah.
There's no magic pills. Ladies,
Yeah.
this has been awesome. Can we do a part 2 and
Of course.
talk about leg day or something?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that means Leanne and Renee have to do Bulgarian split squats as a demo for us. with tempo and a pause and a half rep. I don't know how we can.
That's just horrible.
I'm sure we could do that. But ladies, it's been amazing. Thank you very much. I'm going to get this one out tomorrow for the world.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
We'll push it.
Yeah, and I'm looking forward to doing a part 2. We'll arrange it. But thank you very much, ladies. And
Absolutely. This
have
was
a great
great.
evening.
Yeah, it was
Thank
nice
you
Thank you so
seeing
much.
you.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye, guys.
Bye-bye. Thanks.
Bye.